Hello and welcome to our tutorial. So we're just going to look at some basic sort of UV unwrapping and texturing in this. When I say basic, I mean very, very basic. So this character is primarily for 3D printing, and it's only going to be a single color. So the render that we make of the character is just to kind of distinguish, I suppose, the different parts in many respects. But I just want to show, we want to have a look at using different techniques. So I just want to apply different sort of colors and also maybe one or two images to the different parts of the model. So let's have a look about how we would go about doing that. And there's lots of different ways to do it, and some are better than others. So we'll have a ponder on that now. So we're in pose mode. Okay, that's why I can't select. So let's have a look. So if I select this main mesh here, which is not the helmet, so let's hide that, and it's not the eyes. Wrong way around. Just hide them. So if we look at these kind of components, we want these to be different color. So at the moment we're in solid mode and we're using a matte cap to kind of give us a look at what we've got. So let's see how we would kind of carve this up and assign different colors and different images to different parts. And it's quite straightforward. It's a bit laborious, but it's quite straightforward. So first of all, we need layers we need different kind of, as you would in Photoshop, different layers to add in. So we've no materials at all. So there are no materials listed. So first of all, we'll make a new one, and we'll call this, I don't know, skin. And then the next one we'll add in base cloth, we'll call it. And then we'll add in another one, and we'll call this, I don't know, dark, because there'll be dark areas that we want. And we'll call this, I don't know, armor. So let's have a look at how we would make all those different sort of, those four different colors or four different sort of parts to the model. So we're going to go to this view here, which is called the look dev. Basically in here we can see, as we color things in, we can see them. Now at the moment the only light I have is a spotlight, so actually we'll just fix up the lighting very simply. So I'm going to make this a sun, and the position of the sun is not important, it's the angle of the sun that's important. So I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to, it's far too bright, so we'll make it a strength of 1. I'm going to make the background transparent, so I'm not worried about what the background looks like. So we're just looking at the character. Okay, so we're going to go into edit mode here. Actually, just so you know, there's one other minor thing to keep in consideration here, which is the background color. So if I click at the shading here and click on the character and we go to shading, at the moment if I if we put in materials here onto this character, so like the armor and all of these ones that we had added, which should still be on it, maybe we added them to the wrong object. Hilarious. And skin. So these are all on the object. There's also another tab here that says world, and so the world at the moment is sort of a gray color. So if I do this, the world is jet black. I can make the world screaming white. So it's going to make the world completely jet black. So then if I did go back here to this setting here and turn off transparency, the world would be black. So if there were no lights, we'd see nothing. Okay, so let's have a look at our character. Actually, we'll bring it up just a fraction so we can see what's going on, and then we'll go back to object so we can shade it in. So let's have a look at what we've got, and we'll turn off this wonderful set of bones so they're not in the way. So at the moment there's one little change I want to make to the model itself. It's not clear where the model, the neck of the model kind of ends and the clothes or the cloth begins. So what I'm going to do is, we have a kind of a loop cut here that goes around. So I'm going to add another one. I'm going to go Control or and add a loop cut here, and then I'm going to go GZ. I'm going to bring this up And then I'm going to scale it out a little bit. I'm going to add another loop cut in here and scale that in fractionally. And then another loop cut on the inside. So that, and then I can bring that down a little bit as well. And all I'm trying to do is, again, I'm going to hide this skeleton. All I'm trying to do is make a clear kind of cutoff point between the neck and the suit. So you can see there's one or two little kind of points there that it doesn't quite cut the mustard in. So I might try and take those 2 points there and go GY. Oh, and then get the middle one as well. But not you, move you back. Okay, and then just going to turn this off, and then just going to try and fix. Yeah, so I'm going to go just move these slightly so that there's less of a pinch. Better, but not perfect. Okay, so how do we color this stuff in? So we have our 4 things here. Well, the first thing we need to do is kind of distinguish between them or differentiate between them. So we go to the shading window and we'll have a look here and see. So dark should be dark. So this is, this window here is basically a replica of this, but this is, if I start adding in lots of nodes here, while it's possible to see them all here, this is a very simplistic view. This can get quite complicated. So its base color is white, so this is called dark. So let's make this dark. So, and you can see the preview of it has changed here. This is our skin color, so we'll make this sort of like a Caucasian-y, sort of pinky color, and maybe we'll make it a tiny bit darker. There we go. Our base cloth, so what will that be? Well, let's use an image for that. So I'm going to go Shift A, add texture, image texture, and I'm just going to click open and import an image for that. And the image I'm going to use is this diffuse pattern here, which is sort of like a grate, a metal grate, but it's going to be like sort of like I'm hoping sort of some sort of carbon fiber kind of feel to it. That may not work, but we'll see. So I'm going to go open image. That image is there, and I'm going to connect it to this. So now this is all going to hopefully work. So that'll be that color. Now that's the color. There's 2 other things we want to add in. We want to add in a specular map, which is another picture, and we want to add in a normal map. So this is just the base color. And what I want to do is I'm going to Shift A, add texture, image texture, open, and then I'm going to add in the same thing, only this time it's a specular map, and then the next time it'll be a normal map. So this is a specular map, so that connects there. And then the last one is a normal map, and it's slightly different. So when I open this here and bring it in, it's the normal map. I can't connect these two. Well, I mean I can, but it won't work. So this dot's yellow and this dot's blue. So I need something that's going to convert color information, although I'm using non-color information, but color data to what are basically vectors. So I'm going to go to vectors and then normal map. And you can see that this has a yellow color input and a blue normal output. So this little node here does the maths for us. Okay. So this is set up now. We can't see any of it here. We're just kind of setting these things up. And this is the armor. We'll just make that a kind of a base gray color for now. And because this one's on top, it's affecting everything at the moment. Okay. So let's try and color stuff in. So we're going to go back to solid mode and go back to modeling. And what we need to do is we need to be able to say, put this here. Now, there's a couple of ways to do that in Blender. So I'll show you one very simple way. So I'm just going to select the base of the shoe here. So I'm going to do some kind of selections. So you can see I've selected sort of the base of that shoe, like sort of the sole of the shoe. I'll do the same on this side. So it's just I'm holding down Alt and Shift and doing sort of a whole bunch of loop select commands. So the base of the shoe has been selected as well. Has it? No, it hasn't quite. It is now. Yeah. And then if I click dark here and I hit assign, that material will be assigned to that area. And we're in solid mode, so we can't see it take effect. So we'll go to look dev, and you can see that over here, that area has gone dark. I could just as easily take the skin material and apply that to the base of the shoe. So I can do that with anything I want, and I can change my mind at any point. So that's how we sort of assign our different materials to the different areas. So, you know, and that works reasonably well. But this is a solid color, so it's just applied equally everywhere. What if we had a picture and we wanted to be able to place the picture somewhere? So there's a different system in Blender for doing that, and it's called UV unwrapping. So I'm going to do a little bit of that now. So I want to select all of these sort of pads, these sort of armory kind of bits on the character. And because of how we made them, I can do a selection here and in here and here. So I'll start with those ones. Maybe we'll pick the one over here as well. So I'm just selecting these loops. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to press Control and E and go Mark Seam. And you'll see they all turn red. And so when we unwrap this character, it will cut the character up. Its UV sort of map will be based on where these cuts are. So I've marked a seam there where the head joins the suit. I would like basically to be able to separate all of the different bits of this character. So Control E, mark seam. So that's me cutting out this middle section here. Now sometimes it doesn't always work, so I'm just going to go into wireframe and see, is that continuous? It is continuous. So this will be cut out. That's all very good. I need to cut off the where the arms and these kind of pads meet. So again, Control E, mark seam. Do the same on this side. So again, I'm just holding down Alt and selecting a loop. Control E, mark seam. I'll do the same with this sort of leg pad on the top. I also need to do it on the bottom. And then Control E, mark seam. Do my knee pad here. So the top and the bottom. And then I need to do this little insert area here as well. So I can go Control E, mark seam, and select there and there. Now if you've created your model a different way to me, this could be a very difficult process. You could have like seams that are very hard to get at, to access. So even though this method I've used of making the model is super basic and simplistic and limited in what it can do, it is quite convenient for what I'm doing now. Mark seam. Now finally, you know, what I really want to do is be able to sort of cut this in half. So like this boot, even though I've put a seam here, if I try to unwrap that, it'll unwrap terribly. So let's go into solid mode here. So I want to have a seam that sort of cuts the boot that way, almost cuts the leg in half. So I would be quite happy if it cut it that way. We'll do the same over here. We'll try and pick that there. You can see when it comes up here, it sort of stops and doesn't link with another seam. So I need to add that in there and do the same on the other side. And why do I need to do that? Well, if I don't, they'll still be joined when we try and unwrap it. So a couple of things here will be awful. So the head's going to be awful now and the hands will be awful. So let's see if we can fix the head a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a loop here right down the middle of the model. Now there is actually some, that wouldn't be the worst thing in the world to do, but the seam would be very visible. It would definitely cut things up for us, but not in the way we want. So I don't want the face cut in half. If the seam is down the front of the face, then that's not desirable. Now in this example here, we're just going to make the face a solid color, but this is how you would do something like a face. So you would cut it here, and it's got a helmet on, so from here back we can kind of peel it apart so that the head will then be flat. So that's about enough. I won't do any more than that because it'll just take too long in terms of a tutorial. So I'm going to select everything here, and I'm going to go into the UV editing tab here. So you can see this is what we had, which is unusable. And now when I press U and unwrap, because I've added these seams, it's going to cut everything up into these various different islands. So we're going to use some of them now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to shading, and I'm going to go to the look dev, and then we're going to start assigning some of these materials to the character. So we've assigned the one for the base of the feet. So here's you may not know how to do this. If I select something and I press L, it will select all linked vertices, but this is one continuous mesh, so that's not very helpful. So if I just want to select an island, there is a way to do that, but you have to have added these red seams first. So if I hover the mouse over this area and I press L, oh, that was not functional. So I'll try it up here. Press L, and that's not functional. And the reason for that is, as often in Blender you forget small things, it won't work unless I'm on face select. So L, 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 L. So this is a very quick way. You can see this would take me normally much longer to do. I can go L and L. So I can select all of those areas very quickly just by hovering the mouse over them and pressing L. Now, like I said, that's only because I've added seams. So it's basically selecting the area inside the seam. So if the seam wasn't complete, this wouldn't work. So I'm going to take them and I'm going to make that our armor. So we'll assign the armor to that. I'm going to then, underneath here, press L. So I'm going to have this one. This is going to be my base cloth. So I'll assign that. And L. And L. And L. And L. And L. 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 Okay. And assign all of them. Now, what's interesting about this is, so there's my sort of the kind of the clothes he's wearing underneath. When I go to my UV imaging, image editing here, so what we're looking at is, so that's the, we go to look dev. So you can see the image here. The skeleton's slightly in the way there, so we'll turn that off. So what you're actually seeing here is, so the bits that are selected are over here. These are the islands that are selected. So what we're looking at here is them placed on top of that image there. So let's just see if we can move these around in real time and make it look a little bit better, because it's a bit crude looking there. I'd like that detail to be much finer. So let's select this island here. So I'm going to press L. So this is sort of the upper torso, I think. So if I move this, you can see in real time the image moving over here. And if I want all of these lines to be smaller, if I scale it on this side, you can see it's a much, I can get a much finer set of details. So if I want it to look a bit more like kind of carbon fiber or whatever I had mentioned earlier, I can do that by zooming in and zooming out. Again, I can select other areas here, so L, so that's, if I move this, G, that's this thigh area here. Again, I can scale that up. Just by eye, make it sort of similar in scale to what's on the upper torso. The fact that it doesn't fit on top is fine because this image here is a tileable image. If it wasn't tileable, this mightn't work so well. So this is L. If I go G, again, this is sort of the shin, so I can scale that up. Do the same with this one. Move that over there. And so, and what's this? L, this might be the back of the knee, I'm guessing. Yep, so again, I'm just scaling these up. And that's the other one. Now, when we do this after Christmas, we'll spend a lot more time and effort. We'll be doing this in a much more detailed sort of way. So again, I'm going to scale this. And the only one I haven't done is these two here. So L. We'll just try and match that to the other ones in terms of scale. And the last one here, L. So this is UV unmapping. This is a really messy example, maybe not a good example to give you, but it's a fairly powerful wee kind of tool that we have. So now that's what my character looks like. I can go to my armor here. I could make that much darker. I can make it more or less reflective. And now what we'll do is we'll go to our skin tone. So I can deselect, I can press L up here. And maybe our hands have skin tone, so we'll assign them. So now that's what our character is looking like. Now, one final thing I'll do is I'll take these kind of armor areas here and we'll give that a little, which is this one here. We'll go back to shading and maybe we'll import an image for that. So let's go texture, image texture, and we'll click open and see if we can find something slightly. So this is a kind of a mesh as well. So this might, and we have a normal map for it. And that's its specular map. So we'll open that and we'll connect that in there. So you can see it's at different scales, and that's because of the positioning and size of these islands in the UV editor. So we'll just get it right. We'll set this up first. So we'll import the other two maps. So we're going to import, go image map. We're going to go open. And we want to import, next is the specular map, which is that one. And we'll just connect that to specular, how shiny it is. And then the last one is an image texture. I'm going to press open. We'll bring in the normal map. Now we will look at, I think I've said this already, how to make all these. So don't worry if they feel like they're magic. So I'm going to go vector normal map and normal map. Again, this is how bumpy things are. Okay, so we'll very quickly jump back into our UV editor here and we'll deselect everything. So we'll just take this one, press L, and so that's that there. Now we're looking at the wrong image, so we just need to load in this is the image here that we're looking at. So it's just about picking what scale do we want that to be. So how do I want that to look? Well, dots and lines are not necessarily the best design buddies. So this may look horrid to the eye. Might actually make it even bigger. So I'll press S2. Yeah, that might be the way to go. So just scale these up very high. So L. So again, this is a repeat pattern. So if I just press S here and go up and L, nope, not that one. L, A, and then scale this up. So I can't really see the dots. And L. Now this is quite big, so this will have to be scaled up to about maybe even a bit more to there. L. Now this is not terribly well unwrapped, so I don't think I'm going to get a really good smooth, like consistent color on this one. So I'd have to unwrap this again and maybe add another scene to it before I would get a good result. So anyway, we'll just do our best for now. This is just like I said, like kind of an intro to these sort of techniques and these ideas. So we'll select that one. So I'm going to press S5. Is that big enough? S8. Yeah, that's better. So now I can do the same here. So I can press L, A, S8, enter, deselect, L, L, select both of them, and then go S8, enter, deselect them, and then do I want my boots made from the same thing? So L. Now keep in mind that's selecting the base of the boot as well. And what I'm actually going to do here, I'm just going to go to dark and press assign, and maybe reduce the specularity so they're not quite so shiny, the boots. Okay, so let's have a look through my camera here. And finally we'll have a look at our, this is our skin color, and again it's quite shiny. It's quite, the specularity is quite high, so we'll bring that back a little bit. So this is what our character looks like. So if I press F12 to say, or to render, so I'm going to save that and go back to this modeling. So if I press F12 to render, that's what I get. So I've forgotten about my eyes and my helmet. So not too bad from where we started out. So that's our current setup. So maybe we'd add in, so I was going to go Shift A and add in another light, add in a point light, just so we can see it all. And I've Alt H that, so I was going to hide all of these things. So front reference, back reference, side reference, yeah, there we go. We'll take this and we'll just add again in some of the stuff we've already made, and then the eyes we'd have to unwrap and use an image for. So we'll just leave them as beautiful, scary white glowing eyes for now, and I'll show you in class how to do them, and maybe how to do nails and stuff. So, oh, we didn't do that one. So let's very quickly press L, UV editing, AS8, enter, and yeah, are all okay. So that's just a quick, like it's not, it isn't far from pretty, but compared to what we started with 28 minutes ago, it's not that bad. It's not that beautiful, but it's not that bad. And so we would build from here, and you know, so we're just again looking at kind of basic techniques on how to assign different materials that are on different layers to different parts of the model. All right, so we'll leave it there for now.